open that up, right, people just step in. They're like, oh, you're free. I see a blog. Hey, you free ma? I got checked. I respected your time.
Compa is Nicholas. This one.
No, it's not. It's not.
Nicholas,
I don't hear it because I don't have this problem because no one has access to my calendar.
Okay,
but I do hear it from other people.
Welcome back to Wise and Shy. I'm your host Reggie, aka your Chief Financial Coconut.
And I'm Dawn, SG Budget Babe. Today we're going to talk about a topic to our...
Close to heart, very close to
we
heart.
overcome this and then we'll set off the new year on a good note.
Yes,
right?
hopefully.
Yeah, we're going to discuss like how stress affects us and what strategies we can use to overcome it. How we can turn it into a driving force. Yes, and to...
No langa, very good already. Still turn it to a driving force. Very opportunist, very
force,
good. Yes.
Okay, so to help us address and answer those questions, we have on our set two lovely ladies. I'll let them introduce themselves.
Oh, hi everyone. My name is Sha-En, fondly known as the Happiness-Scientist. I have a background in positive psychology, and that is essentially the scientific study of well-being. So we use science to inform how people can be happier.
Nice.
And I'm Jaslyn, founder of the Busy Woman Project. It's a platform for busy women to connect to their purpose and balance through mental, physical, and financial health.
Oh, very refined after a month. So very good. I love it. Very sharp. Very nice. But yeah, so stress, the talk of the town, right? I don't know if you all feel it, but I really feel like a lot of people are telling me, oh, very stressed. My boss telling me need this. I need to get shit done.
I mean, it's like if your habits don't change and the things that you do don't change, then it's unlikely the stress is going to change.
Wow, I love it. We go straight in. So can you share a little bit more about this whole habit thing? Because so it's not New Year, New Me.
Well, I mean, we always set New Year resolutions, right? And sometimes I think by the end of the first week, the resolution is kind of forgotten.
Resolute already.
Right? Yeah, you're very resolute to forget
1
it.
week.
Yeah, they said that I think by the end of the third week, 50% of people do not remember nor keep their resolutions because they have not actually fundamentally changed the way they think about things or the way they do things, right? So for example, you make a resolution to maybe feel less stressed. But then maybe you leave things to the last minute, and you haven't changed a structure in your life to make things more paced out and more sustainable. So of course you're going to feel the same stress, and quite likely we are stuck in those cycles. It's always the same kind of stress that we face.
Yeah. It's true. That's why I came in 2 hours earlier to set up everything, because I only come in once a month, right? And I want to make sure that everything is proper. So I have learned to give myself that 2 hour buffer before to come in slowly. Cho here, cover, clean everything. So it's not very stressful because I have created a system to kind of manage this process, right? Yeah. So you approve, huh? Okay.
As long as internally you feel good, that's the most important measure, right?
Can you share a little bit more about the barometer?
Yeah, because I think we all have different metrics or different tolerance for stress, isn't it? Some people can go through high pressure environments and feel okay. Some people, the little bit of trigger and they're thrown off their rocker. So I think it's important for us to check in with ourselves. How are we actually feeling? So if you putting that 2 hour buffer means that you can come into the recording feeling good and stable, then that is something you'll probably want to maintain, and it will be self-reinforcing anyway because you feel good. But if let's say you're stressed, but you tell yourself, next time I'm going to do something different, but then you don't, then it's likely going to repeat, right? And that's why we need to check in with ourselves. Yeah.
What if someone's able to identify the causes of their stress, but the solutions to overcome that is not always practical for them? So like using your case as an example, maybe the cause of stress is not being prepared. So carving out extra time to come in to prepare is the solution. What if someone's in the same boat but they don't have that extra time to
I got
carve
2
out?
kids, right? Essentially, that's what
I'm
you're
not
trying to
saying
say,
about
right?
myself. I think every person.
Very hard, no time for
Yeah, I
this.
think most people can recognize and identify what is causing them stress, but it's not always so easy
True.
to implement a solution.
Yeah.
So what would then be the right recourse?
Yeah, but can we peel it back a little bit to first address what is considered stress? Or
the
like
definition.
Yeah, or the definition of stress, or like okay, maybe not so much definition. I think but we can open up the floor to kind of understand what is stress, right? And when we're talking about very stress, is it like stress in itself, or are we talking about like too much, like you're overwhelmed by it, right? So anybody want to take a jab at like stress?
Yeah, I think there are different versions of like stress, and like usually I view stress as like there is a certain amount of modules you have per day, right? And for example, you may take 8 of it for work and you're left with 2, right? So if there is your relationships and your health that still requires 5 stress modules, then that becomes like more than the original amount that you can actually cater for, right? So that becomes a little bit of like causing stress or causing like a bit more overwhelm, right? But I think there would be some nuance with the definitions of that.
Okay, that's fair. I think a lot of people do think of it in that kind of like banking type of thought process, right? Are you crediting? Are you debiting off your stress bank? Whatever, like everything also is a bank, lah. What do you think? Like,
I think, like stress always has a bad rap.
yeah,
Like it's always negative, the association.
yes,
But then there's also the positive side to stress actually. Like some kind of stress is actually good for us. Like if we do a workout and we stress our body, we get stronger. But I guess like what she said, there's always a tipping point where it becomes overwhelmed. And that's because the internal resources that you have may not match up to the situation that demands out of you, right? So if let's say all the pillars in your life happen to fall at once and you're not prepared for it, then of course you're going to say, I'm stressed lah. Yeah, but if let's say you're well prepared, or you've been through it before and it happens, you're like, hey, I can do this. It's actually the same amount of stress, but maybe you have more preparation or more tools to respond to it.
okay,
For me, and I speak for some people, whereby stress comes from deadlines. Because if there's no deadlines, then you don't really have something ticking. So you don't feel so much pressure. So whenever anything has a deadline, like this needs to be done by a certain date or certain time, that's where the stress comes in, because until that is done by that time, that goal is ticked off, then it's just there and it's mental burden, it's taking up capacity.
okay.
And the other aspect of stress that I typically get from is really the emotional side. Yeah, emotional stress when, say, if you're handling a difficult customer, difficult client, and there are repercussions of it later on. Like this could lead to a busted deal, or you're fighting with your spouse and this could lead to something later on. Then that's where the emotional stress will just sit in, and everything else just doesn't function as cleanly.
Fair. Essentially, after going one round, you see 3 different definitions of stress, right?
Hey, where's yours?
First, no, I mean, for me, I'm
Don't
just trying to find a commonality so that we can continue this discussion. Okay, because I think what Jazz was describing is a state of stress, right? Essentially, when something happens, you feel that stress, right? Essentially, that's kind of, and then you went on to be more specific on like what are the state of stress, like what are the possible situation, right? And I think Sha-En was trying to go with the whole like, okay, what is stress, right? So we standardize this discussion so that everything is a little bit more unison. Okay, so essentially we go forward with this idea of like stress as a reaction to the situation, right? So the emotional reaction or the physical reaction, that is what we are describing as stress. Okay, this is very stressful, right? So we do it as a situation, as a reaction to the situation. Okay, so that is our uniform standardization for this discussion. You can use all sorts of other words for other things, okay? But for the benefit of this discussion, we standardize. Okay, stress is an emotional, physical, or different ways of reaction to a situation. Okay, so that is where we standardize. With that in mind, can we kind of talk a little bit about like where are the ways to kind of like pick up on this kind of signals, right? Pick up on this kind of like stress signals that your body is kind of giving you or all that. Because I think everybody knows, it's very stressful, right? But sometimes we overuse this word, right? Like, very depressed. So like there is some objective measurement to these things, or I believe there is some objectivity in measuring what is called stress, so like, is there something that we can work with from that front?
Yeah, I mean, there's, I guess when you talk about emotional, immediately you can ask yourself, well, how am I feeling? And if you want it to be even more objective, you can go like from 0 to 10, right? Where 0 is like maybe a neutral state and 10 is like really stressed, right? So then at least you can get a barometer of how you are feeling. Because sometimes when you say stress, it's blanket. So do you mean 10 stress or do you mean mildly stressed, like 2 stress? But we use the same word to represent everything, right? And then the physical symptoms are things you probably have heard before, like your stomach starts to churn, you get migraine. I hear migraines are like pretty common these days.
Really?
Yeah. Or like neck tension or chest tightness, right?
Yes.
Short of breath. So I think, when you are a bit more attuned to what stress feels like and looks like for you, the sooner you can detect it and kind of nip it in the bud maybe or respond to it. Yeah, but I think the challenge is that sometimes we leave it very late
Mm.
before we respond, and then we're like full blown already, 10 upon 10, 20 upon 10, you know? And then like it takes so much more effort to then calm ourselves down and get back to baseline.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
specifically to the emotions, I think around like tired or like unmotivated and the resulting actions that you tend to take, right? So for example, what I've been hearing recently is like, I'm so tired. I know that going to the gym is important, but I feel too tired and feel not motivated to go to it. And it creates this vicious cycle.
Yes.
And also what I end up doing is I end up watching Netflix. And then at the end of it, from 0 to 10, I feel even worse.
Right.
So it's just that perspective around like where you are from before, where are you after doing the activity, as well as like where's your ideal state of where you want to be as well.
Yeah. Actually, I recently read a book called The Art of Rest, right? And within the book, it actually talk about like 10 different ways where people kind of manage stress, right? And one of the ways is actually to watch TV, you know, and actually it's very well documented that it's a great stress reliever. It's just that if you keep watching it, right, over time, other problems come about.
And especially when you go overboard.
Right? Yeah, and eventually you get overboard, then you become like K-drama and all that shit. Okay, no insult to K people, huh? Okay, just say it's a mob, okay? It's an internet mob. Anytime it could come, okay? But I think the idea here is that sometimes, you know, there are certain activities that we naturally lean into, and they do manage the stress, right? The watching the TV, gossiping with the friend, you know, all these things. But sometimes society tells us that this is wrong, you know, or this is not good, you know, this is like blah blah blah. I think what is more important is to kind of understand the underlying repercussions that come out of prolonged using of these methods, but not like just saying, oh, this method is bad. You know what I'm saying?
Or rather, more importantly, like checking in with yourself at the end of that activity, right? So if you feel like if you're scrolling, you know, scrolling a little bit of Instagram, you know, sometimes maybe it's what you need at that point in time and you feel good from that. But more often than not, if you continue doing that, then your resulting outcome of like how you're feeling after that may be actually a bit more even negative, right?
Yes.
From that.
Yeah.
So then that becomes where you need to balance the kind of activity.
Check out the other episode,
Yes.
Balance. Yes. Nice. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think recognizing when something is beneficial to help us mitigate stress is important, but also allowing ourselves not to go overboard, because the moment we do that, we create a new sort of stress. Like scrolling, watching Netflix, it can help. But if we go and clear the whole series of Singles Inferno in one night and then you end up sleepless the next day, then you're going to be even more stressed out and you'll feel guilt. And that guilt just adds on to everything. So your body goes into this hypertension mode and that is not beneficial. And I think the problem that the generation has today is not all of us actually know when to switch off. Like we do the activities that are meant to be good for us in limited quantities, but we don't know when to press the stop button. And that's why we have features like, you know, Instagram and Facebook and social media are now giving you the option to shut off. You can put a limit, like I will only use Instagram for 1 hour a day.
No choice.
Then it blocks
The
you.
world wants to attack them, so they have to cede some ground. It's not in their business interest.
Yeah, it all falls back
You know what I'm saying, right? Everyone's attacking them, so they start to create all this feature quiet mode lah. These things all start to come in,
just
right?
to make people happy.
Appease the regulators.
Exactly.
But it's not bad, right? It's not bad. In fact, I think this doomsday scrolling shit is quite a big problem.
It all falls back to self-control, I feel. Because stress is also the fact that we're not able to feel in control, right? Because of external factors that we can't directly control. So then we feel that stress. So when we indulge in these activities and we lack that self-control, that's when it's a double-edged sword.
Okay, but you don't feel like that thing about like not having control is the underlying cause of the stress and not the stress in itself?
It could be both.
Right. You know what I'm saying? It's like, because different people will react to different situations, and stress comes out of all these different situations, but there is some commonality across the different situations that you experience. And then it's like one layer below, right? Like for you, a thing is like lack of control. So like the Grab don't come also can be stressful, right? Because you cannot control the Grab not coming. But actually, it's not about the Grab. right? It's about the like lack of you know what I'm saying, right? It's not about the Grab, right? Grab always don't come and always surcharge, right? It's okay, just accept, right?
You can't snap and they come now, right?
Yes. So
And when you have somewhere to be by a certain time,
yes.
pressure.
Exactly, right? So it is that lack of control that is the situation. And if we want to like stamp it in the root, right, then you got to go to that level to try to like recognize what you can actually control and what you can't, right? And then work on that level and not just stress management. Am I making sense?
It is. I think that's actually one of the key things that people should move into 2024 with, like recognizing when things are out of their control so that they don't blame themselves or beat themselves up to it and let themselves feel more stressed because it's really not your fault. But maybe what we could do is, okay, we can't control when Grab. Or like today, right? I was supposed to be here a bit earlier. I planned for it to be earlier and then it started raining. I couldn't get a Grab. All these were out of my control. But in recognizing that, okay, you know what? I actually planned for 30 minutes earlier. So even though these things are happening, I'm still going to be on time anyway for our recording. So not like reacting and then not letting that tension get to me. I think it's an important skill that people need to go into this year with. Especially as we were talking about how Singapore is generally getting really stressful to live in.
Only recently, man?
Increasingly
quite a while
stressful.
already.
I thought it's been around like that
Increasingly stressful.
Okay.
One main stress was 1st January 2024, 9% GST. Instant high stress, you know.
Okay. I know the whole world is trashing GST. I know the whole
We're
world.
financial creators.
Yeah, the
we have to
whole
talk
world is
about
trashing
it.
GST, but I am actually from the opposite camp. Okay, but this one we can. You just look at in Malaysia. Okay, like if they fail to go through the GST, and then now they got all sorts of other weird taxes, right? They tax small value product, all these other things, because the state needs the money to do whatever it needs to do. So that's a different discussion. Check out Choose with TFC. Okay, that's a different show. But yes. So this stress build up thing has been ongoing, right? Like everyone is just kind of like what's going on? Like why are Singaporeans so stressed, and how is it affecting us?
I think it's like, if you look back at how our country became so successful, a lot of it was driven by the need to be excellent. And in the pursuit of excellence, right, we have to work very hard, right? So, you pia, right? And
I'm very long heard this word already.
That's immediately what came to my mind, right? I think of the students and like we are trying to achieve all these targets, but then we forgot along the way that actually it's a human trying to achieve these targets, and a human cannot run on overdrive all the time. And so, but then we've gotten used to this cycle. After all, Singapore wouldn't be where it is without this need to be excellent and that drive. So to now suddenly say, hey, don't work so hard. Take a break.
Yeah, I start to see the MRT ad.
Right?
MOE take the MRT ad, MOH also take the
Yeah.
MRT ad. I was like, oh, now you tell me you can relax. Huh?
Correct. But then it's like so ingrained in our bodies, in our system, right? In our culture, that even just saying that, people feel guilty. What? You asked me to take power nap, cannot. What if the boss catch me? And then they just power through, but then powering through makes them more stressed because your body's exhausted, right? Your nervous system is out of control, and what you really need to do is stop. But like you said earlier, it's so hard to stop.
Yeah. And I always tell the HR department, you want people to sleep in the sleeping pod? Ask the boss go there and sleep first. Right? It's like they put the budget and they the sleeping pod down there, right? Then my HR friends say, we buy this thing, nobody use. Like, why? Because the boss never use. You tell the boss go there, use a few times, take photo, people know. Then it works already, right? Then other people will copy. But any thoughts on the stress?
Well, I mean, recently there's been a lot of like articles around like the shifting of like your 5 C's and so on and so forth, right? But still, I think it still takes time for people to realize that. And what I'm hearing among like my peer groups or some of my clients is that, well, like I know that I'm facing like a midlife crisis. I'm trying to figure out what really matters to me, but I've been conditioned to be doing all of this for so long and to achieve that if I feel like I stop, like the whole world will end, or like everything would stop, right? So that's the thing I've been hearing quite a bit. And interestingly, another thing was start of the year. What for me was like, we just got back from like holidays, and things are just starting to get into a groove.
That's
I've been
you only
asking-
lah, Jess. Go went on long holiday, love it.
I've been asking like, so where is your ideal state of where work should be? How many % is that? And where is it right now, right? It's like 120% when like the ideal state is say 60 to 70%. So there's like quite a big gap with where things are at right now.
I want to talk a little bit more about digital stress as well. I think one thing that has changed.
Today is a ranting session, huh?
No, it's not. It's our
Okay.
really identifying the problems that
Yes,
affect
please,
us,
please.
afflict us.
Yes.
I think
Digital
one thing that has
stress.
changed in our generation is just this rise of digital tasks that we have to clear, right? People never really had to deal with so many, with emails. Like in the past, when you write letters, you write, it takes 15 days to reach your recipient, and then you have to respond like 1 month later. Today you can respond the next minute, and then because you respond so quickly, the person then asks you something else, and it goes non-stop. But emails are just one thing to clear. We also have like DMs on WhatsApp, Instagram, or our social media channels, and with people on multiple channels that can balloon quite quickly. We also have other tasks like, we need to clear our telco bills, our this bill, that bill, town council bill, car park bill, and all these little digital tasks. And then once in a while, you get that phone message say, your system due for update. Please update now, or antivirus update, or you're running out of space. Please delete your photos and videos, and all these digital cleanups, right? I find it's also something that has added to the digital stress of our generation, because we didn't used to have that. Our parents didn't used to have that. Taking photos was just, you take with the camera. You would be more inclined to take better shots. You develop all of them, or you see the film, you choose which ones. You develop all, you choose the photos, immediately put in the album, and you're done. And now you're like, you go on holiday, you take 1,000 shots, and you feel stressed because, oh no, I've come back from the holiday 6 months already, I still haven't posted. I have that backlog. So with all of that increased digital task and responsibilities, how can we manage all that additional
I
stress?
actually have a very I had some insights around this, right? Because it started with my bicycle. Right, so during the pandemic, a lot of people started riding bicycle, right? I don't know if it's true, because my primary thing where I ride bicycle is because don't need wear mask, right? And I can still get to where I want to get to, just slightly longer, don't need wear mask. I'll ride the bike, right? So, and then after I owned the bike, right, it gave me a lot of other problems. All the tire, like, need to oil this lah. Now I need to find a place to park this thing lah. Is this lock big enough? Then with the lock, what about the key? Like, it's like all these things that and are problems added on to just an urge to not wear the mask and cycle, right? And I think that is this part and parcel of when you take up a solution, there's actually an X amount of problems that come along with this solution that I think a lot of people don't realize from the start.
They don't expect.
Yeah.
So sometimes like we implement all these things without realizing the other things that are going to come along later on, because it's not immediately obvious.
Yeah, fair.
I mean, that's why Marie Kondo did so well, the whole decluttering, right? And I think we always think of like life as adding, always be bigger, be better, let's add. But then while you do that, you get some perks, but then nobody talks about reducing, cutting, streamlining, and I think with the apps and with notifications, that's what we actually need to do. But then there's also this desire to always be there, like FOMO, right? And if you don't keep it up, then how? Then what your friends going to say? So I think it's very complex. There's so many things that we think about when we have a notification and reply now. If I reply now, they think I'm always available. If I reply later, they think I jiazua. Then when to reply? So then you get stuck in this whole swirl, right?
Yeah. Or like
That's
finance-wise,
exactly
right?
what goes through my head. So reply now, cannot, you're too
Maybe in your
available. Cannot, right? People will exploit you. Say no, too easy, cannot. Like reply in voicemail or reply in text, right? Send
many
email or
decisions,
Slack, right? So oh my goodness. It's so stupid, but
I actually have a solution for that. I sometimes schedule my replies. So I reply now, but
Block
I'll
out
put
time.
1 hour later. So you don't think I'm
Wow.
immediately available, unless it's something that needs to be replied immediately, because it will lead to consequences.
Of course.
Yeah, but
I
I've
get it.
done that because I'm like, I don't want you to think that I'm always going to be here immediately available for you, so you can continue to ask me questions when you draw the boundary.
Yeah. I love it. I love it how we have littered across multiple different things when it comes to like stress, what causes stress and all that, right? So
Yeah, but let me give an example, right? So I think in this world today, many of us, we're on many different apps, right? And some of us who, especially if you want to save money or you need to be notified about certain things, so you sign up for all these newsletters and all this stuff, and just clearing them, right, is a pain. And then like you said, FOMO also, you want to declutter, you want to remove yourself from this email list. But maybe because like, back then during the pandemic, you wanted to be a better speaker, so you sign up for like this world best speaker newsletter. You want to learn how to improve your sales, so you sign up for sales newsletter, marketing newsletter, IG newsletter, everything also sign up. Then you want to get discounts on your clothes, so you sign up for a Love Bonito newsletter. You want to get discounts on Chinese New Year goodie. You want to fly for cheap, so you sign up for SIA. Hey, just clearing all these it's a pain. And then at the same time, you're like, but if I unsubscribe, then I won't get notified when they have a sale or discount. I think that's very real, because I've had conversations with readers where they complain, it's just too much.
I know that's
How
very
do we
real, but
manage
I am
it?
amazed that it's very real.
The things I'm hearing is FOMO and lots of sponsorship kind of.
Exactly. I was like, Jazz, we're there. It's like, wow, all sorts of apps and things can sponsor. Yeah, no, but I feel like it is a first principle of this thing, That means it's not like a bug, but it's a feature. Right. So if because you want to stay updated, you sign up for all these things, then naturally the reaction is they have to come. Because that's what you sign up for. They have to come, and comes along with all these other things, right? These are extra things that you never buy for, like bundle deal, which is all the stress and the assure and then all those things, all the bundle together one, right? Actually, you only wanted the notification, but all sorts of other things triggered you, right? So it's a bundle. And to me, right, when every time something is a feature and not a bug, right, there's no simple way to solve it unless you remove it altogether. At least that's my view. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it goes back to like, what are you allowing into your life? Right? And I think it's the same for like a lot of other aspects of stress. Like the people will say things to you, your colleagues will say things, or, and then you have to ask yourself, am I a willing party in this, or am I just allowing it to be dumped on me? It's like this rubbish truck philosophy, right? Someone can dump the rubbish, but you can choose to jump into the rubbish, or you can walk away from it. And I think it's the same maybe with all these notifications. Of course we got FOMO, we got fear of losing out. So I don't know what that is, a follow lah. But it
Cannot
comes
just
back,
missing.
yeah, lose out also, right?
Lose out also problem.
Yeah, but it's also like going back to ask yourself, do I really need that right now? Like we did it during pandemic, but do I really need that right now? And if I don't, maybe it's okay to drop it. And it's scary because we prefer to hang on to stuff. Right? And hanging on gives us security. Letting go means there's a fear associated with it. So I think we also need to come face to face with our emotions.
So how do you manage this process then? I get it. Okay, like this thing in the past served you. Now it does not serve you anymore. You cognitively have realized that, okay, this thing not important anymore. But you want to drop it. But when you want to drop it, right, there's all this fear that prop up. Right? So how do you then manage this fear such that the process of dropping it is a easier process and like less painful? You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Emotions and fear, these are all something that lives in our body. So one of the ways is to go into your body, right? Whether it's through deep breathing, you've heard this many times before, or even like allowing, like I think we don't allow ourselves to articulate it when we do feel the fear. So one of the strategies that's actually really useful for our brain is to label the fear, or label whatever it is, the emotion. Like, I feel really uncomfortable that I need to unsubscribe from all these newsletters, which actually are giving me some benefit. But I know that in doing so, I'm going to get a lot more peace because I'm not going to be bothered by all the bundle deal that come after that. So I think it's articulating it to yourself and then feeling it in your body and asking yourself, wow, now that I've let it go, how do I feel? So the more that we can be in touch with different parts of ourselves, I think the more we'll be more willing to go along and recognize that that feeling of fear was something that's stopping us. But hey, what is on the other side of fear?
Hey, I hope you're enjoying Wise and Shine so far. I'm your host Reggie, aka your Chief Financial Coconut, and for us to continue to do this show so that you become a tad bit wiser every week, you gotta like, share, subscribe, help us beat the algorithm. But even more importantly, if you can, comment in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts and also some questions that you would love us to answer. Yeah, now back to the show.
Yeah, that's a great shout out. Like, I think many of us, we just let these feelings and emotions sit or pass through, but giving an actual word, articulating it, And really putting it out, like describing, making it come to life, can make it easier for us to decide. So do we keep it or do we just let it go?
Yeah.
'Cause it doesn't really
Newsletter,
add.
newsletter promo stress.
Yeah, like
We just added a label,
true,
right?
right? Like
yeah.
I used to subscribe to this sales newsletter,
Yeah.
and I used to read every single one that got sent to me.
Of course, that's the
After
whole
a
idea of a
while-
sales newsletter. If the sales newsletter cannot get you to open a newsletter, they failed, okay? They failed.
Unsubscribe,
Unsubscribe, they failed.
Yeah, but then it got to the point where I realized like moving into this year, I needed to spend more time with my kids. And I was not opening these newsletters as often anymore. And then it piled up and piled up. And one day when I was deleting, I realized, oh no, my inbox has 300 unread. And out of this 300 unread, 50 was from that sales newsletter. I was like, okay, I think it's about time that I don't feel the follow. It's fine if I can let go of that FOMO and follow feeling. The reality is the number has now been quantified. It's 50. That's 50 occasions where I cannot keep up. And there's going to be another 50, I let it continue. So this is where I cut. Yeah, I think, but like you said, many people, I think they don't articulate that. So that's when it makes it hard for them to cut it out. And then they just let it continue stressing them out until it gets to a point where you then break down or something and you break.
Yeah, it's interesting how people feel that stress because I got 3,000 unread, I also not stressed. I was like,
That's why you say like
it's
the
you
reaction
failed,
is
not
different,
me,
right?
You failed to get my attention. it's not my problem. Right? So that means you're sending lame things. I don't care, just skip through. Right. But anyway, yes.
But I think
yes.
for the fear, like I wanted to just mention, there was this like more academic kind of exercise, but it's called like fear setting exercise. And I found that really useful, like particularly for bigger item stuff, right? So it's about setting like what is the worst case scenario that can happen, right? So it starts from like you define it. So it's really about articulating it again. And then you talk about like reducing, like how can I reduce this and recover, right? So if this really happens, how do I recover it? And what I really liked about it is because like then you really can prepare yourself for what the worst case scenario would be and feel like whether you are okay to let go or not. Because sometimes when you write it down, like actually the upside of hanging on is still there. Then you can just choose to hang on for a little bit more. But if you realize that it's actually, you know, like the benefits is actually way better, then you can choose to let it go peacefully at that point in time.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, actually, I think I do practice quite a bit of that, right? In the sense when when you get a bit, okay, like, to be fair, recently I don't have a lot of fog anymore because I have been doing this for years, right? So over time, you just kind of like get more clarity over like, okay, why is this causing you this problem? Why is this causing you this stress? And then you just like tackle it one by one. Eventually you get to a state where, okay, it is what it is, right? You want to play, you play. You don't want to play, you walk off, right? And of course, the whole privilege discussion, blah, 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 that's a different discussion, right? But generally, I think this method of like being clear, okay, why is this thing a problem? And, you know, is there a way to kind of like reduce it? And what is the worst case? You know, like even before you tell me these words, I've already been doing it, right? Like it's like, okay, this is a worst case. It's not a case lah, right? And I just carry on, right? So I
Because I think
it is a
regardless, it's
thing.
bringing the stress, the fear, whatever the emotion is, like to the surface, right?
Yes,
so
that's
it's not
right.
like this scary thing that we're looking at,
Yes.
but it's something that, you know, we can actually face and confront and potentially like befriend as well.
Nice.
I think the other thing to add would be doing a more regular audit on ourselves like that would
There's
be
a
more
lot of
helpful.
audit already.
It's an audit. When you actually
Everything
look
also
at
want me to
audits,
audit. Every
you're
professional want me to
auditing to
audit.
see what you want to cut out of your life
Yes, please,
strategically,
please.
right? And I think, but because we're so busy, we all just get caught up in the day-to-day stuff. We don't audit our lives this way, and then that's when it just piles up to the point where you really have a deadline now and you get super stressed. So I'll use one example. I mentioned this in, I think, last month's recording. If you don't clean up your income taxes and do the steps that you need to reduce your tax bill by the time the next year comes around, all of that needs to be done by December. So you procrastinate from January, now it's the new year already, so you procrastinate all the way until the end of the year, you're going to feel it even more in December. But if you audit yourself maybe like every quarter, you can ask yourself, what can I do now with my income tax in view for the next year to reduce that? So auditing that and then making the step first in the beginning is easier than at the end where things could happen in December that takes our focus away. With that deadline, we feel even more stressed. But when we audit that earlier on, more often, like with emails, with apps and notifications, that reduces the stress that we feel at the end as well.
It sounds like that really points to like the importance of building like little habits, like little things that can sustain your longer term desires or changes that you want.
Exactly. Yeah, like Sha-En, you were mentioning, right? You can only have the change when you actually create something, you change the schedule and you actively do something so that that New Year's resolution can come to pass. So if like feeling less stressed is a resolution, then maybe doing this regular audits every quarter could help instead of never ever doing any audit and just forever feel stressed.
To be fair, right, I think from my view, I think whatever you guys say, right, is very like, okay lor, yeah, I get it. Right, you know what I mean? Like cognitively, I understand. Right, I understand. It's these are the things that I need to do. These are how it is. But for a lot of people that are tuning in, right, and now they listen already, they also don't do one. Right, you know. So you know what I'm saying, right? It's like, okay, I know. Of course, I know. I'm not an idiot, right. So like, a lot of people like that. You know, I totally get it because I'm also like that. It's like, yeah, don't tell me I know. You know, but there are competing priorities, right? In a fast-paced way of life. So how are there simple steps that I can go with, you know, to kind of manage this stress or like, you know, be better with stress management, you know, and all that, right? But not too chim like psychoanalytics and like kind of like go deep. I get it. The deep work is important, but the deep work takes a lot of time, attention and all that jazz, right? Yeah, jazz. Yeah. Any simple things that I can do,
The actionable steps, right?
easy stuff to kind of manage this.
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, exercise or any kind of movement is actually really good for stress. And there are articles and research that shows that it's not like you need to go for it for 1 hour, 2 hours each day, but like even 30 minutes per day, if possible, of movement. So I think people feel very stressed that I need to exercise, means I must either go to a gym or I must pump it out. But maybe it's just being more active in your day, because when we are more active and we work out or, for example, exercise, then there are also those hormones that get released that allow for stress relief, right? And when you finish your workout, some people say they feel very good or they have runner's high. Why? Because they have dopamine that's being released. So an easy way is, for example, you're going between meetings, and maybe instead of in between meetings, go and check out 5 minutes of that Netflix show that you have. You know, maybe just go for a walk, go to the pantry, walk, come back. Or maybe if you're really hardcore, you can do meetings with push-up. No, not suggesting that, but there are some companies that do that because they recognize the value of just being in action. Yeah, and that helps to regulate, again, the whole nervous system, because the nervous system is very closely tied to stress, right? And so movement.
And I feel like the next question people would have is like, oh, but I have no time to do that 30 minutes. And but actually, and procrastination is one core thing,
True,
right?
true.
Actually, 5 minutes as a start and stacking on top of that is already a good start, right? Like just 5 minutes of walk-in or 5 minutes of squats on the spot, just to really like feel good. And if you feel good, you can continue.
Yeah,
If you don't, then
loop.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
Adding on to that, I would say one thing that came out is that auditing on our stress every quarter, I think, should be a scheduled activity. I think the thing is, we don't schedule all these things. So trying to find that 30 minutes for a workout, 5 minutes for a workout is easy to say. But when we actually make that a priority by putting it into our calendars, I think that makes all the difference. And I say this for myself as well, because I feel to do a stress audit or any sort of audit on my finances, on my bills, on my kids' homework and their academic status if I don't schedule it. Yeah, but knowing it, so like my kid, for instance, he goes for one enrichment and one enrichment only, okay? And every week he has that one homework that he has to submit. I'm trying to show that I'm not that over-anxious parent.
Exactly. I totally got what Jess was going for. But her reaction, I was like, wow, Dawn really validating.
Yeah, must validate.
I'm not the overly...
Later get cancelled.
Yes.
No,
I'm
the point
the
is like...
super mommy that is like very understanding. I let my kids pick what they want and we only do one. We don't overload them, right? But they will eventually do well because let it take its course.
I don't know
Trust
whether
the process.
I don't know whether we'll do well.
Did I just put the whole shit together? I did, right? Okay, great.
Okay, but the point is like...
I'm not judging you. I support you.
I know.
Yes.
So I think like the point is when we actually schedule it, and sometimes it gets scheduled for us. right? Like the reality is I'm not the kind of mom where I will be telling my kid, every week you better do one worksheet. I wouldn't. But because the school, the center imposes it, that becomes scheduled into one of the priorities that I have to tick off. And hence it's a bit less stressful. I don't have to worry too much about him falling behind and me only finding out 6 months, 1 year later. Then the catch-up work is so much more. Yeah, and I think we can do the same for ourselves when it comes to like maybe auditing our stress levels, something that I promised to do for myself this year. Auditing our health levels. Yeah, I try to audit my health status check-in every month because I always tell myself I want to work out 3 to 4 times a week. And that's been my New Year resolution for as long as I can remember. But then this year came along.
It's been there.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
always there.
It's always
But
there.
I never just get it scheduled. And it's easy to say 5 minutes squats, 10 minutes walk, but it never happens. Yeah, but when we actively schedule it in, I think that's where it makes all the difference. And if we can let work be such a huge part of our life, 9 to 6 for most of us or even more, right? I think what we can learn in this year is scheduling in the breaks as well. Scheduling in de-stresses.
I'm hearing like what you're choosing to control and what you're allowing in, right? So like, for example, if we talk about digital or if we talk about our calendar, if we don't schedule it in, then someone's going to come into our space, right? Whether that be
Yes.
notifications coming up on our WhatsApp or whether it's like a calendar invite because our timing is not blocked. So it's actually giving
Very
us that
sneaky,
peace of
those
mind.
calendar invites.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, they just
Suddenly
appear, right?
from there, I don't know this
Antoine,
person.
suddenly so busy. I thought it's a free day. Yeah, I can sense it. Suddenly, why so many things? Yeah.
This is something that I actually protect very strongly. I always have people saying I should sync all my calendars, but I explain to them like, no, I know the convenience of it. I get where you're coming from, but I insist on having one calendar for all my family and household tasks, one calendar for my corporate job, one calendar for my side hustles, and another calendar for my own health, fitness, and everything else in between. And at no time, no one, not even my husband, is gonna get access to my entire calendar. I'm the only one in this entire earth that can see all 4 calendars at the same time. Because the moment you open that up, right, people just step in. They're like, oh, you're free. I see a block. Hey, you free ma? I got checked. I respected your time.
Confirm is Nicholas. This one.
No, it's not. It's not. I don't hear it because I don't have this problem because no one has access to my calendar.
Okay,
but I do hear it from other people.
Yeah,
And I think one
get it.
solution is recognizing like, okay, I understand the convenience of syncing everything together and opening that up. Some people work with, you can book a slot on my Calendly, right? But I think the moment you open it up also is recognizing that that's going to come in with a lot of people blocking your time. And you thought you had 1 hour free. And you did, and someone saw 1 minute before the 1 hour that you were free and slotted in something.
Yeah. I mean, these days a lot of the apps can have, you can set parameters around it, right? But I understand what you're saying. And at the core, in my worldview, right, is whatever you want to do more of, you reduce the friction. You know, whatever you want to do less of, you increase the friction.
Yes.
Right. And I think the part of a lot of adults or like working professionals, right, is the struggle to increase the friction. We're not very used to it, right? Like, and for whatever reason as to what it is, but that's the part that needs to be solved. You know, like sometimes some people ask me, oh, can I just borrow your space? I can. It's like, oh, can we set up a calendar so that it's recurrent? I cannot. Because once I make it easy for you, you're going to keep borrowing, and I don't want that. I'm very happy as a person. I let you use whenever it's available, but it becomes a regular problem, then it becomes my problem.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's the baseline principle that I go with now. I mean, and it extends to everything, including stress management. And when I abide by some of these first principles, I don't feel as stressed. You know, and I think the baseline is you must know what you can lose. Right. And if this is can lose one, then you will not feel so stressed. At least that's how I think about it.
Yeah, I'm curious because I'm hearing quite a bit of like time and attention, right, that we're trying to protect.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you guys think that we should like protect as well?
Energy and emotions.
Wow, all the iffy things. Jazz always like that one. It's okay.
I was actually genuinely curious because I know time and attention is spoken about a lot.
Yeah.
But I wonder what else should we be fiercely protecting, like what you're doing with your calendars.
Yeah, I mean, like when you're talking about procrastination, many people mistake procrastination as a time management issue. but actually it is an emotional management issue. Because why do we procrastinate? Because it's either we don't want to do the thing, we fear to do the thing, it's not nice to do the thing, and all of it comes down to, like, I don't want. So we distract ourselves by maybe doing something else. Yeah, and so like if we're talking about what we need to protect and we are time staffed, we all have 24 hours and we can't extend it, although we want to, then we've got to think about, well, how can we manage the emotion so that we can be able to do the things that we want to do, right? And that also goes back to your point, right? We reduce the friction for ourselves to get into the things that we want and our priorities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and prior to this, I mean, we were having our break there. I was talking a lot about how I'm the kind of person where I must be in the right energy, the right emotional state to do something, right? And the moment that is off, like, I just can't. So I think one thing I would add is really protecting that emotions and energy is super easy, especially for my line of work where I deal with a lot of people. Sometimes you just meet really nasty people or people who don't want to be mean but are just horrid in that moment because maybe they are having a bad day and they just, they're not in the mental state to be nice and kind, and they just let it all out. They just lash out, right? And protecting that energy and emotions also means recognizing that it's not me, it's them, and then just letting it go. And I have to actually do this quite often because, like, it is quite common when we have people lashing out sometimes. In my line of work, we deal a lot with deadlines. People get very sensitive with deadline. Yeah, so protecting that is super, super important. And sometimes also with my kids, I practice the same on my kids, right? If I'm really stressed and I have a deadline or I have something that needs to be done and my kid is asking for attention, he's whining, I'll just be like, stop whining. Can you talk nicely? Use your indoor voice. Don't be so loud. Mommy's having a headache.
Oh, there's this thing called indoor voice.
Yeah, it's a
that's
new way of parenting.
That is so cute.
Don't bust my eardrums voice.
Yeah, this is my indoor voice.
Yeah,
It's
don't
outdoor
shout.
voice, outdoor.
Use your
Can't
indoor
say like
voice.
that. Okay. Anyway, yeah, we're indoor.
Wow.
We're indoor.
Indoor place.
Indoor voice.
Indoor voice. It's like, oh my god, all this armor parenting, huh? Yeah.
it's
But I
good
don't hate it. I
because
don't hate
it's
it because yes,
helpful,
kids
right?
need more indoor voice.
Yeah, it's helpful. It's
Yeah.
helpful. So what I would do is, like, if my kids are the cause of my negative energy right now, I'll ask for help.
Okay.
I'll try to protect it by asking my husband, I really need to get this done. Can you handle the kids? Yeah, or I will step out. I mean, like, I'm going for a run. You all handle the kids. Bye. Just go.
Nice.
And
nice.
like being able to do that without, because many people fear doing that due to the potential parent guilt that they feel later on. But that guilt is also something that we are imposing on ourselves. Yeah. So one thing I've learned over the years is really to protect my time, my energy, my attention, and my emotion, not letting other people, have that influence on me, because that's where stress comes from, right? People, all these external factors I cannot control, but when I start to protect all these 4 pillars, I reduce all the external things that you're going to throw at me.
Nice. That's a great wrap up, right? Yeah.
It's what I do.
Yeah, great. That's why I don't even work very hard anymore. I love the show. The less I work, the more happy I am about this show. Yes.
One from each of us.
Okay. Any last things to add, for this matter of stress management? And I actually quite like the whole discussion around procrastination is an emotional thing and not so much a time thing. Yeah. Maybe any last things to add?
Yeah. Last thing, I think, like, we got to know ourselves well. Everybody has a different strategy to manage their stress, and no one's strategy is better than the others. So if you know yourself well, like you do those audits frequently, then you'll get better and better at managing it, right? But if you don't know it and you don't take time to know it, then it's just going to repeat. So yeah, spend time to take care of yourself, know yourself.
Nice.
I'm all about small steps. So really just sitting down and taking a breath, or like closing your eyes and taking a breath and asking where you're at right now. And that in itself can be quite telling sometimes of like whether you need to ask for help or it is something that you are okay to push through a little bit more.
Nice. Love it. Yeah. Okay, that's it for today. We'll see you next week. Take care, guys. Bye.